Hey, lovelies. Welcome to the meditation drawing for this week. We're actually doing this on the evening of the full moon. So it's quite a powerful energy and it's quite strong. And you may have noticed a lot of busyness today, a lot of people running around, maybe coming up with a lot of suggestions of things to do, adding to their to-do list. And for some, it may just have resulted in utter exhaustion. Sometimes when we have a lot of energy and we don't know how to respond properly to what's coming towards us, we just get exhausted and overwhelmed and burnt out. And so what we're going to be working this evening in the meditation drawing is we're going to be really taking it very easy, taking it very gentle, and we're going to be looking at this issue of power. So I talked about a powerful energy, and we're going to start looking at how we can be powerful, but in a very different way. And when we're talking about power tonight, we're going to be talking about the power of our presence. So a lot of the way power is interpreted is around force. So I can forcefully, or I can use my will to get this done, tick all the things off my list, get to the end of the day and feel like I have a sense of achievement because I forced myself throughout the day to achieve. And that's where we have stress and burnout. And so what we're going to be dealing with today is the sense of power in a much more receptive, much more listening, much broader capacity so that we can actually correctly respond to things that come in and out of our life, in and out of our day, when we have these powerful energies that have the potential to drive us to do all sorts of crazy things. Sometimes we later regret thinking, why did I sign up for that? Why did I say yes to that? Why did I do that? That's what we're going to be working with this evening. So my advice is to get comfortable, have your drawing materials nearby. I just have some basic coloring, ink pens, and a piece of paper for this evening. You can have anything as simple as a pen or a pencil. And just let's really begin to slow down. Let's see how we can harness this energy rather than be bulldozed by it. So as per usual, I will start with the meditation. And then I'll go into a very simple creative exercise, which is based quite a lot on repetition. And one of the benefits of repetition in terms of meditation is that it gives our minds enough to focus on so that we can focus and in some ways distract the mind, distract ourselves away from those overwhelming feelings into something that's very straightforward and very calming and stress-free. So we're going to start with our meditation. So whenever you're ready, just start getting comfortable. Just ease yourself into the chair. You can close your eyes if you want, or if you wish, you can leave your eyes open, but do soften your gaze to a place fairly near to you. What we're trying to do is just reduce down the stimulus. So in order to engage in the meditation drawing, let's see if we can come back to ourselves, come back to our bodies, create a sense of ease so that when we do go into the drawing, we're going into it from a less frantic, a little bit less busy place. So we'll start very simply by coming back to our breath. Just noticing the fact that you're taking a breath in, noticing that you're taking a breath out. And I don't want you to change anything. I don't want you to feel like you have to slow down, or I don't want you to feel nervous and that you have to speed up. Like, this is really about just paying attention to what happens when you take a breath in. And often I notice when we are told to pay attention to our breath, it's like the very paying attention kind of sets off this little thing in the mind. Oh, I better get this next breath right. This better be the perfect breath, or I better make sure that I'm breathing in correctly and breathing out correctly. And then the exercise of de-stressing becomes a stress in itself. So I love this analogy of just imagine that you're pouring milk slowly into a glass. And just that kind of gentle pouring, that feeling of being filled up, just gradually and slowly, and whatever pace that takes, just allow your breath to move in and move out in whatever way feels comfortable for you this evening. And there may be a lot of sensation, there may be a lot of movement of energy, but you can still pay attention to your breath even when you have that flow of energy in your body. And if you feel yourself forcing it, if you feel yourself pushing it, just recognize it and go, okay, let it go. Let's just notice our breath. And while we're breathing, just slowly, in our own time, bringing our attention to our feet. Placing your feet on the ground, maybe gently pushing your heels or your foot or the toes into the ground, because I want you to really feel the support of that grounded energy. So in times of busyness and in times of overwhelm, we can spend a lot of our focus and attention kind of up here towards the top of the head. Even the shoulders begin to get tense, perhaps the jaw, or perhaps our thoughts can feel a little bit louder. So in those times, bring the attention back down to the feet. And just feel the pressure of your foot on the ground. Just simply notice, are your feet warm or are they cold? Is there any sensation or tension or tingling in them? Perhaps you've been walking around all day and your feet are tired. Perhaps they're hot. Perhaps you don't have any socks on, they've got very cold. So just noticing. And then moving up slowly and gently to the ankles, to the bend, the ankles with the feet on the ground. Moving up to the calves. How are the calves feeling? Alive, tired, sore? Just noticing. There's no real need to attach a story here. We don't need a reason for everything we feel, or everything we think, or everything we sense. Things just may be the way that they are. Moving to the knees, bent in space. The thighs, perhaps resting on your seat. And going to the sit bones and to the bottom of the belly. Now, if you're ever in those times of stress, and busyness and the idea of breathing to your feet seems impossible, and you can always breathe to your belly. Seeing if you can perhaps take a deeper breath. It feels like you're bringing the breath right down into the belly. Perhaps that's possible in those moments. Moving up the small of the back, the middle of the back, the top of the back, into the shoulders. And perhaps even just raising these shoulders ever so slowly to the ears and just giving yourself a little bit of roll, just letting go of any accumulated tension that might have formed over the course of the day. And then moving to the top of the shoulders, down the arms to the elbows, again, perhaps bent in space. Perhaps the forearms are resting on your lap or on the table. And your hands also resting. How are those hands today? Are they cold or warm? Are they tired? Do they feel strong? Just noticing how your hands are. Coming down to the belly, perhaps very close to where your hands are now. Perhaps the navel area. Again, in times of stress, and the idea of going and taking the breath into the belly seems too much, then just upper an area around the navel, just breathing in here. Perhaps you can take your breath that far. And even if that's too much, perhaps even for a moment, putting your hand on your heart and breathing in here. That's enough, just the touch of your hand on your heart and a simple breath into this chest cavity that reminds us that we're alive, that we can notice that our heart is beating without us having to do anything about us. We're being looked after. Everything is in working order. Just allowing us to come back to ourselves and be so gentle with ourselves. Moving up to the throat. Moving around to the back of the neck. The sides of the head, the back of the head. The face, cool air, warm air. And then up to the top of the head. And is it possible just for maybe 3 breaths, which we'll take together, just trying to think about when you take your breath in, breathing into the whole of your body. We've just been tuning into all the senses and feelings. We have a good awareness of our bodies now in space. So let's take 3 breaths in and out together. Whole body breaths, starting now. Taking a breath in and out. And in and out. And in and out. And I'd like you to keep this awareness as we move into our drawing exercise for today. And perhaps finding pen or pencil. I'm going to use a little felt tip pen today. And I'd like you to start off really simply. And I want you just to draw a fairly small, in some way circular, ovular type shape onto the page. So we're not being precious at all. We're just creating one shape as rounded as you possibly can. And this is the start. And so at the start of the session, I talked about this idea of the power of our presence and how our presence can ripple a feeling into our body of being okay and can then ripple out into our environment, into our communities, into those that we're with. And also have that sense of powerful presence in our lives. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to begin to form these little ripples coming out from your shape. And remember, there's no rules here. This isn't about giving ourselves more rules. I'm just going to continue to ripple out, sometimes small, close by ripples, sometimes further, odd-shaped ripples. It doesn't matter about producing this perfect ripple, but we're dealing with this idea of rippling out, this feeling of presence in our lives. And I want you to just continue this. But I want you to begin to attach the movement of the ripple and the creation of the ripple to your breath. So it could be that you do one ripple, one breath. Could be that your ripples are too small to do this. Could be that your ripples are too large to do this. But I want you to, when you start a ripple, begin on an in-breath. So whenever you start, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. So I'm doing 2. But you find your pace, whatever it is for you. And slowly begin to ripple out. Just begin to attach the breath, attach the movement to the breath. Now, as we get into our own flow, I'd like to just talk about this energy of the full moon. I don't know about you, but I saw it setting this morning, quite full, quite pinkish, because it was a beautiful day here. And then as I went for my walk this afternoon, I saw it rise with this strong yellowy color So it's quite a special day in terms of seeing the moon. Both rise and fall. And the energy of this moon is the energy of a channel in human design, which is the 3420. So gate 34 or hexagram 34 in the I Ching is one of the most powerful energies that we have. It's the full force, the full power in the now. And the 20 is about being really able to see all the perspectives and kind of knowing where and how to use this energy in the now. So I got a lot of calls, a lot of texts from friends today. They were filled with ideas. Let's go there. Let's do this. Have you thought about this? I want to book this. I bought this. There was a lot of energy in the field because this is what the 3420 brings. The energy to do. However, if we're not intelligent, if we haven't got our own awareness about how to use this energy can get completely angst up, feverish, go, go, go. You can feel that if you don't use it properly, it's going to disappear and never come back. So you might as well get everything done while the energy is around. But unless we're really noticing what's happening in our day, unless we're really noticing, well, what actually are we being asked to respond to? What actually are we being invited to? Then we can use this energy in not the most useful way. And we can end up adding a whole lot of work that we never actually wanted to do and making plans that we never actually wanted to get involved in. So where our power is in our ability to notice, to really notice what's correct. What am I actually being asked to do today? What am I actually being called to do? And beginning to pay attention. Perhaps an email comes in that we need to respond to. Or perhaps nobody contacts us all day. And so we've actually got nothing to respond to. Just noticing this. Because when we're going through periods of high energy, and this time of year can be very high energy, a lot of busyness, a lot of lists and do this and go there and buy that. Now we can force ourselves through our own willpower to do this, but that isn't the most useful way of using this energy. So I'd like you to just come back for a minute. Let go of whatever I've said, whatever thoughts are coming in and out of your mind, and just noticing the making of the mark on the page, the repetition, the breath moving in and out. It's beginning to form on your page. What are you beginning to notice? Is there a particular shape that you're really enjoying, that you want to explore more? Are you very carefully making sure that each ripple exactly replicates the one before? Have you got lost in lines and imagination? What is it that you'd like to see begin to emerge? How can you use this presence that you have right now in this moment to just go with the flow of what's evolving on the page? What would it be like to remove the force and pressure of doing from this exercise and simply notice what's arriving and coming up as you dedicate your presence to this simple exercise? Just lose yourself for a while. What would it be like to get your ripples so close to each other? They're barely touching, but they're not touching. Remember, you don't have to get this right. It's just another thing to play with. Or what would it be like to stray far away from the previous ripple? Taking on a completely new shape, completely new form. There's something so naturally powerful about being present in the now, about feeling our own aliveness. Sensing our sensations, feeling our feelings, allowing our thoughts to come and go without getting attached to any of them. Just noticing. And even asking yourself, is there anything I really need to do this present moment in time? Am I coming up with jobs, things to distract myself from what's actually really important? It's almost like a type of surrendering. You're surrendering to the marks on the page, to the interaction between the pen and the paper, to the flow of ink landing on the page. How do we match these two, what feel like opposites of utterly surrendering on one hand and being utterly powerfully present on the other? In the present, there often is no past and no future. It's just the engagement with the now. And I want to, in your own time, beginning to think about how you might finish this exercise. Is there a part of your page which you've utterly neglected? You'd like to fill this in now. Would you like to begin to add details other than the ripples? Perhaps you'd like to begin to fill in some of the areas that are blank or wide open. Perhaps you'd just like to continue endlessly, continuing to form ripple after ripple after ripple. For those of you who feel like you've come to the end of this ripple exercise, I'd like to invite you to gently, when you're ready, finish up and begin to do some automatic writing. Perhaps throwing words down onto a page. Perhaps forming sentences, not having to make any particular sense, not having to answer any questions or find a reason for your drawing this evening, but just allowing words to come up, to form on a page so that you can release them. Onto the page and perhaps into the ether. So use this last 5 or so minutes to do whatever feels natural. Do whatever feels good. Let yourself off the hook. Doesn't matter what you've drawn. Doesn't matter the words you've written. Just playing. Perhaps imagining. Perhaps dreaming. Perhaps feeling alive. Perhaps there's something about how you think about the power of your presence. Shift and change. New awareness that has snuck in, made itself known. And perhaps if you've allowed yourself to become utterly lost in the rhythm of flow and lines and ripples that have taken on a completely different form. And you found yourself somewhere utterly unexpected. And as you're finishing up your writing or finishing up your drawing, return to your own breath. Where is it now? Has it slowed down, become calmer? Has it speeded up with excitement? Where into the body is it reaching? Can you feel it around your heart and chest? Can you feel it in your belly? around your navel. Does it reach all the way down to the very bottom of your belly, to your sacrum, into the pelvic bone? Just watching and noticing where it leaves you at the end of your drawing. And perhaps looking at your image, perhaps looking at your writing, seeing if there's one word that sums up your experience today. Something that brings it all together. Even a word that in the busyness of tomorrow or the next day or the next, that you can use as an anchor to remind you of this feeling now, this feeling here, this stillness, this silence that you found within you as you draw and meditate and flow. Thank you very much for joining me this evening on my meditation drawing. Feels like a river today that I've kind of slowly flowed down. I hope you got some enjoyment or some calmness out of me. Look forward to seeing you again soon.